Subsidy, subsidy, subsidy. That's what's been trending for a while now. What is the fuel subsidy? Why has it been removed? And how can we make things work, even in spite of it all? Let's talk about that today. So, if you're new here, my name is Choma Mama. I'm a working mom. I'm here to just look at how we can make it work as working parents to make sure that our careers, our businesses, whatever we do, it works and we are raising the best children. And we're going to talk about subsidy today. And while you're at it, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. It will be such a pleasure to have you and to see your comments below. So, first of all, let's talk about this fuel subsidy. In simple terms, the subsidy has been around for a while. And what is the subsidy? The subsidy is what the government pays to make up for the real cost of petroleum products, fuel in particular, and what the consumers pay. So let me give you an example. If the real cost of fuel is 600 naira per litre or 500 naira per litre, and consumers pay 200 naira a litre, guess what happens to that 300 naira the government has been paying? The only thing is that this cost has been a bit crazy. Apparently, in Buhari's administration, the figures that we were getting, I heard that about 7 trillion was paid on fuel subsidy. 7 trillion is more than like 5 sectors' budget alone. It's ridiculous. And the thing that has been crazy is that this fuel subsidy was even being used to fuel corruption, because some people that were being paid were actually not even actually selling. There's a lot of corruption going on. People were claiming wrong figures for fuel that was supplied and it wasn't supplied. All sorts of rot in the system. So much was being done the wrong way. And also, they will subsidize fuel in Nigeria, and guess what? That fuel will be smuggled out to other parts of West Africa. So we're subsidizing for the whole West Africa, basically. So it just couldn't work. It wasn't workable. The strain on the government's purse was enormous. And I think Goodluck tried to stop it. It didn't really work. Buhari tried at a point. He said no. But, even with the elections that just held, every candidate worth his salt said, look, one thing I'm going to do is remove the subsidy. So it was no surprise when at the inauguration of the president, of the current president, that was one of the first things he mentioned, was that, look, we're going to remove this subsidy. But for me, I say, give us some small palliative. But anyway, that's just it. The truth is that if you look at the economics of it, it really isn't sustainable to continue to fuel out that kind of money on what we're not sure. And it was causing so many issues. Like I said, money that could have been spent on other sectors, money that, it was fueling, smuggling, it was aiding smuggling, it was aiding corruption. A lot of things are just not working out. And so look at the other side. Okay, so if we remove this subsidy, which has now been removed, what happens? Costs of everything goes up. Cost of fuel goes up. We all know what we're paying now for fuel. Cost of transportation goes up because, if you're paying more for fuel, transport costs will go up. Cost of food and every other thing will go up. But what they say is that in the long run, costs will come down some because, market forces will begin to play, there will be competition, free competition. Things will just go, supply and demand, and you will have more options. There's also this, hope that development will increase because money that was being used to subsidize fuel can be used for other things. It can be used for education, security, infrastructure, which is a great one, transportation, better transportation and things like that. So we're hoping that if this money is put in the right place, in the long run, this fuel subsidy will work for the betterment of Nigeria. Now, let's get to the crux of why I'm doing this video. We all know, like I said, costs are high. If you're spending, let's say 500 naira on transport, odds are your transportation cost has increased by 1,000 naira. If you're spending about 12,000 naira to fill your tank, the odds are you're going to be spending about 30,000 naira to fill your tank or more. So what are we going to do to make it work? Number one, if you're a parent, you need to start thinking about how you can carpool. Carpool for not just for yourself, but also for your children. For instance, if you live in in an estate and you have neighbors, your children are in the same school, you might want to take turns and say, you know what, for this week, Mr. A, you're the one that's going to do the drop-off. This next week, I will do the drop off. The upper week, I would do, Mr. C. Of course, it has to be parents that you know and you trust. You won't just put your child in anybody's car. Of course, the child has to be of a particular age. You're not going to put a little toddler or a little child, just to go anyhow with anyone. So start looking at those things. Those things actually go a long way, and these are things I've been doing. I do it sometimes. I have a next door neighbor who our children go to the same school. Sometimes I'll say, you know what, can my son go to school with your daughter? And these are people that I know pretty well. So at times, so that helps. So it's something that you can say, as a plan now going forward to save ourselves some of these costs. Let's start carpooling. Like I said, not just only for the children, but also for yourself. If you go to work, instead of going to work, maybe you drop your child in school, then you come back home, or whatever plans you were doing that was involving going up and down, you might need to reconsider. Where you're doing something that is more seamless. I drop my child off and I go to work, or I'm going to work with my colleague, and we're doing it turn by turn. We're doing it turn by turn. So this week, so that nobody's feeling cheated. This week, Mr. A, we're going to work together. Next week, Mr. B. Another thing that is really important, if you're not bulk buying before, this is the time to bulk buy. Now, when you're doing bulk buy, you need to be careful the kind of things you're bulk buying. Don't buy things that are going to easily spoil. Perishable goods, you have to be careful. If you're buying things like tomatoes by the basket, fantastic. You can even consider canning. If you go to my Instagram page, you will see where I spoke, about tomato canning. It's a good way when you've bought, a large, amount of tomatoes, to store them in a way that would save up space. They will not be in the freezer. Just keep all your old Bama bottles and all, and you will see jars. Your Bama jar, and you see you can easily use them to can tomatoes, and you can save them for months if you do it properly. So please look for ways to bulk buy. If it means sharing, but please make sure you know what you're doing, so you don't end up being penny wise, pound foolish. Now, the third thing you can do in these times to make sure that you're making the best of the situation is that you need to plan. Your planning has to be on point. Not only with fuel, but with everything you do, because the truth is that when you're not planned or organized, you end up spending more. Plan your movement, plan your week, plan, everything needs to be planned. Plan your purchases. Planning is key. Planning cuts down waste so much. So you need to find ways of perfecting or improving your planning so that you're not suffering or making things more difficult for yourself. Now, the fourth way that you can help save costs during these times is to see how you can pay for things ahead. Now, things like your children's tuition, you can actually go and negotiate and say, you know what, I'm paying tuition, I want to pay for the whole session. Do I get a discount? These days it's not easy for a school to see someone that will just come and drop money for 1 year, especially primary, secondary school, where people usually pay per term. But if you say, look, if I want to pay for 2 years, give me a good discount, you'll be shocked that the school owners will say, fantastic, please, I will give you a discount. So negotiate. If you have more than 1 or 2 children in a school, this is the time to say, you know what, cash is king. I want to be able to pay ahead, and I want to save some money too. So find ways to make it work for the best of your... Oh, I'm trying to say, try ways to make it work to the best of your ability. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any tips to make things easier for you during this time, please share in the comments. I would love to hear what your best tips are. I'm going to make the best of it. I'm going to be fine. Trust me. I'm going to be okay by God's grace. All things work together for those that love God, and we shall be fine. Everything will be okay. Rising costs. Now, we hope at the end of the day we get what we deserve as Nigerians, a better country, money spent in the right areas, and that our children have a better country to inherit from us. Have a great day, and see you again next time. Bye-bye.